Welcome back. We are continuing our foray into food poisoning with our reporter Rebecca Metteo. Last time we left off on training more staff to cut risks of contamination. Rebecca, besides getting staffing and training people, what can food businesses really do to cut the risk of food poisoning?
Right, so some companies are really relying on technology to reduce the reliance on manpower. And also this can reduce human contact with food, and this will reduce then the risk of food poisoning. And in fact, this is also something that the Catering Association is pushing the entire industry towards. So I spoke to at least one major caterer, Vercel Catering, to find out how they're exactly doing this. Let's have a look. Food for up to 10,000 people can be whipped up in this kitchen on a busy day. Look closely and you will find, also at work, high-tech gadgets installed over the past 2 years to beef up food safety.
What ozonators are is, at certain hours of the day, they will actually emit the ozones in the air and kill all the bacteria. So for us, anything that's after 7 p.m. to 3 a.m., the ozones will be released to kill all the bacteria in the air.
So this is done every day?
Yes, this is done every day.
Various sensors also keep an eye on air quality and temperature, ensuring these are within safe levels. New machines also chip in with cooking to cut down on human contact with food and speed up workflows. For instance, once these chickens are baked, they will be kept warm automatically. These hardware upgrades cost the firm more than $200,000, but not all is cut and dried. Thousands more are to step up surveillance when demand surges.
In addition to sending food samples for microbiology testing every quarter, or sometimes even every month, this depends on the frequency of the events. If the events got more, we even do it every month. Furthermore, we ensure that any new dish created by our chef undergo laboratory testing before being added to our menu. We also do equipment surface swab tests and our staff hand swab tests to ensure food safety.
It's also turning up the heat on its food handlers. Part-time or full-time, they are sent for random stool tests to detect bacteria like Salmonella and E. coli that could contaminate food. This is a type of gel that simulates bacteria on hands. Staff will pour the gel, rub it in between their palms, and a UV light will be shown on them to reveal any germs present. The company also conducts surprise checks on kitchen staff to remind them to maintain personal hygiene. Manpower remains a key ingredient, especially as the year-end festive period nears. 8% more staff are hired, whether full or part-time, to handle orders that usually go up 20% more than usual.
But most importantly, we make sure that we don't overtake orders and compromise our capacity to deliver, and upkeeping the food safety standards.
Looking ahead, Mr. Tan hopes his recipe for success can be sweetened with bigger government grants to train workers and pay for equipment.
So technology, as we can see there, Rebecca, can also play a part to prevent foodborne illness. But help us understand how and why food poisoning happens in the first place.
Right, Shana, I'll have to take you through a little bit of a science lesson, but there are two biological contaminants like viruses and bacteria that can cause gastroenteritis, and it's also commonly known as food poisoning. So viruses like norovirus is actually highly contagious, and they are also the more common cause of food poisoning. But some bacteria may cause more severe symptoms than virus-related food poisoning instances, and these bacteria are also very resilient. So take, for instance, Salmonella. It is a type of bacteria. It can be found in food such as raw or uncooked eggs, raw dairy products, raw meat, and poultry, especially chicken. So they can spread to humans if you consume the contaminated food and drinks. Now, they can survive for several weeks in dry environments and several months in wet environments. So freezing or drying will not kill this bacteria. Now, the next one that we can understand a little bit better is listeria. So it is typically found in soil, water, feces of humans and animals. They can survive across temperature from as low as -1 degree Celsius all the way up to 45 degrees Celsius. And what this means is that it can survive in your fridge. And listeria could also be found in raw, ready-to-eat food, your raw dairy products, deli meats and sausages, your soft cheese ripened by mold, smoked salmon fish as well. Now, the last one is a bit of a mouthful. It's Clostridium perfringens, also commonly known as the cafeteria bacteria. Why the name, you might ask, is because it is commonly found in food left out for long periods. So it can be found in undercooked meat, poultry, and your sauces like gravies and curries that we all love, right? And it can be found in these items, and it can also be found in when you do bulk cooking. So this also increases the risk of these bacteria multiplying because the heat source is not evenly distributed. That means that the food is not evenly cooked in that sense. And the same logic applies to large amount of foods. When you're trying to chill them, the heat is trapped inside the food, which means that, again, it promotes bacteria growth. So all this unstable temperature can also lead to bacteria growth.
Right.
So the bacteria can also be introduced through improper handling of raw meat and even vegetables. If you don't wash them thoroughly before you cook them, the bacteria might also be found in them. And so I spoke to a doctor who shared all this with me. All this did not come from just myself, and also some materials that she has shared with me. But I do want to point out that the doctor has also mentioned that death from food poisoning is an extremely rare occurrence. It is usually because of other complications like severe dehydration, multiple organ failure, and also other related diseases. So let's hear more from the doctor.
Persistent diarrhea that is more than 3 days, or blood in stools, or high-grade fever, or severe signs of dehydration. So again, that can present with decrease in urine output, or giddiness, parched lips and mouth. Again, there are some more vulnerable groups such as young children, elderly and immunocompromised patients that have, of course, they have less reserve to kind of circumvent this severe symptoms of gastroenteritis.
On our part, Rebecca, what are some precautions we should take to, keep ourselves safe?
Well, I can highlight to you some of the food that are at higher risk of spoilage. For example, your sushi, your raw seafood, and your salads. So when you are eating all this, so just take note of how they look and smell, and just be a little bit more cautious. And if you're ordering food in larger amounts, try to avoid those raw and uncooked food. And if you order raw seafood like sashimi, check if they're sent to you at below 5 degrees Celsius and keep them chilled until they are ready to be served. And another thing to note is that food pathogens actually multiply rapidly between the 5 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius. So if any hot food is delivered to you, you must make sure that it is kept at a temperature of above 60 degrees Celsius, and cold foods below 5 degrees Celsius. I think by now you can tell that temperature is key to ensuring that the food is safe for consumption. And so if you happen to organize any sort of party and you decided to order for catering services, just make sure that the food get delivered to you only about 1 hour before the event, and that it must be consumed within 4 hours. And as a general rule of thumb is that not to over order, because you will have to throw away the food that you cannot finish anyway. It's not worth the risk to eat food beyond a certain hours.
I think this is really great advice, especially as we near, year-end festivities where people are gathering a lot. So thank you so much, Rebecca, for sharing your insights with us. That was Rebecca Metteo on food safety lapses in Singapore.